Hello, voiceover. I'm recording this after the fact. I had a plan with this video, but it turned out to be such a nice day that what I'm talking about in parts of the video is not actually true, because we keep riding and riding, and it turns out to be that this is the first, let's say, sunny day where everybody decided to go outside. So that means the materials that we got was kind of nice. So I decided to keep it as a long video and probably put this on YouTube in YouTube in kind of a raw form. So take what I'm telling along the way with a grain of salt. I will, at some point I did decide to turn this into a real video. And so I do start sort of annotating what we are seeing. So hope you enjoy it.
See if we can train models to be more consistent or compatible with the Dutch bicycling infrastructure. I already wrote some apps for it, but they are not giving the results that I want. So one of the main things that I want to try to teach the model is to recognize the Dutch infrastructure, so that we are talking about bike paths, and if it's okay to ride on bike paths which normally detection doesn't really do that well, but also things like the way that we use yield signs, so what we call haaientonnen, so shark teeth, so that it picks up on that. And more important, we need to teach it the concept of a cyclist. And that's an important one, because most of the models which have been trained simply don't expect the amount of bicycles that we are having. So what does that mean? That means it's detecting bicycles all over the place, which is correct, but we are not really interested in bicycles, we are interested in bicyclists. So what it's good at now is sort of detecting bicycles, and it will find thousands and thousands along the road in the Netherlands, and it finds quite a few floating people, especially if they're on rear bikes, because it doesn't understand the concept of a bikelist or a cyclist. So in this case it might detect bikes on the stretch, but not that they're cyclists. So one of the things I'm trying to do is upgrade people to bicyclists, and that can be quite tricky. So for example, the bike in front of us, two people on the back on a bakfiets, which is kind of an unusual setup. Let's see, sitting on the back. I'll try to get a little bit closer. I'm guessing there's also a kid in the front. Let me decide to pass after this one. Probably. He's making good speed, but so indeed there was also a kid in the front. So this is considered a dangerous road, in that we are going downhill, and there's so many bicyclists in a normal day. It's now Sunday, so not as busy. And people, because we are going in two directions, which is kind of on this, let's say, a busy road, like in this blind spot, you see stuff like this happening. So it's so busy that this normally would not be a two-direction bicycle path. So that sometimes people are too eager and collide into each other. And because there was no option on the bridge to do the normal solution, which would be two of these wide bicycle paths, but one on each side for one direction. So it's kind of a limitation of the bridge when they put it in. So we didn't stop yet. Again, I might use this clip, and maybe it's better because they are like 5 or 10 minutes clips with smaller parts. Maybe I should link them all up together. But we are going to the city center. So if you're not used to Dutch bikes, you can see that about more than 50% of new bikes sold are now e-bikes, but they kind of look like the one in front of me. You don't really see them unless you see the battery. See, there's a small bike problem. It's making a noise and it's irritating her, so he's stopping to see what the noise is about. But that is a good example of, I would say, an older generation e-bike, where the battery is on the back of the bike. You see them quite often. The design is kind of being phased out. People don't want to see the battery. So they're mostly now in the tube. So in your front tube or something. But still, it's not that people in the Netherlands are lazy. But bikes are the main commuting model. So if you want to have some luxury, then you get an e-bike. There's also a practical reason. Although we don't have any mountains, we do have the concept of wind. And wind is quite a big thing. You always have the wind in front of you if you go home. So in the morning you're probably riding inside to the wind. And funny enough, in the evening when you go back, the wind has turned for some reason, and you're also riding into the wind. And wind is a tricky thing. We call them the Dutch mountains. Because having some, let's say, 4 winds or 3 or 4 winds feels like going up a small hill. And it is continuous, so it can be quite tricky. And people, if they're riding in the Netherlands, kind of don't think about that if you're not from here. So e-bikes in a way flatten the landscape, not in elevation, but in, let's call it, wind resistance. As many people might know, we tend to sit upright on our bicycles, and that means that we are running into quite a lot of wind resistance, because that's how it works. We are not hunched down. So that means that we are spending up to 30 to 40% of the power loss because of the wind resistance. And that's quite easy to compensate with an e-bike. So my view on the e-bikes is that you're still sort of doing quite a lot of work yourself, especially if you have let's call it a legal, not an illegal, but a legal bike, because we only allow for pedal support. And I would argue that A well-trained e-bike basically makes you ride like it's a sunny day every day, even if it's windy. So we're going to turn here, which is a bit of an odd turn. We're going now into the old city. So this might be a point that we are going to film later. We already have bees, whatever that was. Okay, we can go again. I think that's probably a dog. Oh no, small kid. Something happened with the bus. Oops. So you see quite a lot of fat bikes, like the one in front of me. If they have orange jackets on and a sort of home symbol, it's a delivery one, which is a big delivery company, food delivery. I would say they're mostly going like 30, which is not allowed, but my personal view is that they are quite harmless. It's not like they are super aggressive. So this is one point where you can consider sort of stopping a little bit. I'm going to see if they do that now or later, because we are now reaching the busiest cycling point in the world, as they claim. Which is not today, because it's still early in the year. But you can see the amount of bicycles that the software would have to count, which would not be funny. So we have to figure out if I, on my back trip, stop here somewhere to attach the camera. I think probably best on the other side. I want to catch up on that one, which is fun. So you can see people are in all kind of setups on bikes. This is one way to do it. It'll be interesting to see what the software makes of that. Biking backwards in a way. So we are now really in the middle of the city, near the waterways, the canals. This is kind of a busy spot. And it's already getting quite busy, to be fair, for the time of year. I wouldn't say these are mostly tourists, but they're mostly Dutch people getting out because the sun is out, and first time, few weekends when the sun is out in the Netherlands, we will definitely go out. So I'm going to take this route, or maybe I'll go straight today. So that means that we are now going to the university sort of area. Oh, that was fun. That can go into our collection of weird riding in the Netherlands. So sometimes you see people standing on the top of the bike, on the back. But he was, how do you call this, reverse sitting. So I don't like this part, to be fair. Because, oh, they changed it. No, they didn't change it. You still have to go here. But this is typical Dutch. It's still quite cold outside. But given that there's a little bit of sunshine in the beginning of March, they feel obligated to sit outside just to prove that spring is almost upon us. I always have cold hands, so I still have my gloves on, but you can see that there are already people quite happy to try to use their shorts. Not me. So I'm pondering what I will do. So I'm doing these rides every day to get some physical exercise. As a, let's say, happy side effect, I can make these recordings. That's a good example of just negotiating, right? I think I'm going to sway to this side and follow the old defense system. So of course Utrecht is an old city, started by the Romans about 2,000 years ago, and part of the defense of course is a canal system, moat system, and it's star-shaped. So you can see that we will sort of make these star movements. If you would take a drone shot, you will see that we are basically riding a star. So not sure how the audio will be. And maybe this is the new way I'm going to make these videos. I don't know. I have some ideas. I think in a way the YouTube videos that I was making, I wouldn't say that they don't get enough people to watch them, because that was never why I made them. But I do think this is more practical, because YouTube is starting to filter some of my data. And what I mean, I was sort of putting metadata in the subtitles. They're trying to remove that. I don't think they are doing it on purpose, but they have this auto translation feature, which is overriding my data. And so one of the ideas I'm having is to really make an external app that still kind of links to the YouTube videos, but that can link up different parts and provide us with different info as overlayers. And the second thing I want to do is see using this object recognition, if we can start using some of this material for safety videos or traffic analyzing. Again, a typical good example. So we are on a shared road. You notice that the car in the middle is not having, let's say, full control of the road. It has to be careful. And you can also see the numbers, right? So we see cars, but they are definitely outnumbered by the bicycles. So they have to behave. So the whole city is now 30 kilometers an hour, as far as I know. But you can see that the amount of bicycles is definitely way more than the amount of cars. So it makes sense that you give the bicycles a higher priority, and that's exactly what they did. It's not anti-car, it's sort of, let's give each road user enough space to do what he needs to do. So if you want to run, like she is, give her some space. If you're in a bus and you're moving 100 people at a time, give them a priority road. And for the normal roads like this one, if it has to be shared because it's in the inner city and it's very old, then they will turn it into a cars are guest road, which is kind of what this is. So cars can drive here, but they have to accept that the bicycle is basically the master of the road, and they have to work around it. Now, there are of course always people that complain about it. I think most of the people in the Netherlands driving cars, they also drive bikes, so they understand. And I would argue that it's not a big deal. Of course, you always have people that complain. And the second thing is, since 60 to 70% of the kids go to school by bicycle on their own, lots of car drivers also have kids or grandkids, so they understand that they have to be careful. And I always like this part. There's a tree in the middle of the road. They didn't want to kill it, so they just leave it there. So we are going back into the city. I don't know, maybe this is a nice spot. Although I don't mind. I think this might be a good. Oh. I feel quite comfortable driving with the camera. I don't feel as comfortable, especially if it's so busy, to put a camera somewhere and start filming the crossing. I'm not sure about that. We should, then we'll do it at some point, because that was the reason why I went for a drive today. But it's also kind of a nice, I didn't expect this. It's also kind of a nice day to start driving because there's so many people around. So maybe I should change my mind and just keep driving a little bit, because this is actually kind of a nice video. Because it's sort of the first Sunday in March where it's a bit sunny, so you can see the Dutch in their natural habitat. Because I would argue that this is mostly Dutch people. Or people who have decided to live in our country. Of course, this makes perfect sense, because this also tells you a little bit about priority, right? So yes, bicycles, unless you're in Amsterdam, which is a bit different, but bicycles are not the, let's say, masters of the road. So we're now entering an area where it's kind of the reverse, right? It's bicycles have to be careful for the people walking. So I think we are going all the way in this tourist sort of mode, so we are definitely going to slow down. Because there is a small area where we are not supposed to bike. And I will go very slow. Because this is way more controlled by people walking. And as you can see, they also don't feel uncomfortable walking on the road, because they feel they own the road, which in a way they do. So unlike before, more people walking than bicycles, so they own the road. And this is a good example of what kind of happened and why we have so many bicycle paths and the shared roads, because of the sheer number, right? I mean, one road that we didn't take today. Let me first negotiate this.
Les journées avec le soleil comme aujourd'hui. Ah bah bon, dat bedoel ik heel leuk. I remember you mean like.
You do notice that there are not many people who are using their bells. Many people are just walking with their bike. We are going really slow. I could get off my bike, but maybe I will. I will probably get off my bike. Just walk for a bit. So this bike video turned into a walking video. Forced walking video. There is a reason why I was going here. I knew it would be busy. But I want to ride through the Dom, or maybe walk, depends how busy it is. Which is one of the main attractions of the city. Yeah, it's busy. Many people are probably confused why I'm still having my hands protected against cold. I still have gloves on. So it's not like there's 20 degrees. It's like, let me check, I think like 15, 14 or 15. So it's not that I'm crazy. I also, for medical reasons, always have cold hands. So that's my excuse. But I'm definitely one of the few who are having their gloves on. So last week I drove to this, which is not really a nice thing to do now. So we are walking. Of course we hear a lot of languages. Still convinced it's not really tourist season yet, but maybe I'm wrong, there's already a few. But that could also be just people who live in the Netherlands, but are not Dutch speakers. So I don't think I will go that route back, because that is actually... Nee, ik neem zelf veel foto's, dus ik wacht heel even. Maak je geen zorgen hoor, ik ben hier gewend. Gewoon op bezoek een beetje? Kom je heel vaak hoor.
Ik kom nu denk ik nog 2 of 3 keer per maand.
Het verbaast me een beetje hoe druk het is, eerlijk gezegd.
Ja, nu wel.
Ja,
ja.
Mensen denken de eerste keer een beetje buiten.
Ja.
Nou, bijna nog niet iedereen toeristen, neem ik aan.
Het beeld, dan
Ja.
Wat daarachter dan door voordeur kijken hier.
Precies. Ja. Ik maak hier regelmatig foto's. Of ik neem video's. Maar goed, veel plezier. Ik ga weer verder. Ik kon niet doorheen fietsen, dus ik moest wandelen. Als jullie bekend zijn, weet u dat daar de ingang tot tuintje zit, hè?
Ja.
Oké,
Maar
dat,
nu eens.
voor het geval dat mensen het niet weten.
En dan gaan we door naar de Dorstgehetjes.
Oké, dat als je het gebied kent, dan... Ik denk dat ik mijn voet... Maar toch, even stoppen. Het is inderdaad druk. Nu zie je mensen ook allemaal doorheen lopen al en foto's maken. Ik heb een beetje een praktisch probleem. Ik ga even daar naartoe. Om even mijn veter vast te maken. Zo. Oh, you're not in English anymore. Sorry. So, people who know this area know that there are gardens inside. And they're going to the gardens. So I'll bike a tiny bit there. You can see the entrance of the gardens. And then I'll turn around. As you can see. So there's many people going in. If they know that's there. So interesting side note. Under this area there was a big Roman fort. And you can see the outlines of it. And it was there before they built basically the church. So the tower in the church is a cathedral, and they were connected. So the tower was part of the cathedral, which kind of makes sense, until 1647, top of my head. And a big storm came in and blew part of the building down. So they left the church, the part that was still left. It's called the Dome Church. And they also left the tower, of course, which is 116 meters high. I'm not great in conversions, but that's like 300 something feet. So by now I took off my cap and my gloves so that I don't look that stupid to people. So we are going to figure out how to get into the city again. Because we are now kind of on the edge. So I wouldn't say I'm lost, but I'm kind of doing a random turn to see where I end up. Because I don't want to go over the canal, because then I have to walk all the way, because it is so busy. But I do want to get back kind of to that general area. So I'm going to figure out how I'm going to do that. Somewhere here and then probably like this. So still at canals, but this is not like a really busy area. So I do hear a lot of Italians today. I'm not sure, maybe it's the Italian Go Visit Week. Okay. So I don't like these cobblestones. Not a big fan. I think I'm going to probably be able to go here. Oh yeah, I know where I am. And it's not too bad, I guess. Well, we already have seen the busy bicycle path. I could go over there again. Go to the other direction, which was my plan. But then we have to go past it again, which I think I'm going to do because it is a good example. Just now, for the people who are really smart, you can see that there's a UFO on top of the building. It's an art project that they put there 25 years ago. It was only supposed to be there for like 6 weeks, but people liked it, so they have to sort of fix it up so that it's able to stay there. And it's been there for I think like 25 or 30 years. So from a story point of view, what we are riding next to now is actually where major highway was, which is part of the story you always hear. You see kind of this church kind of building in a lot of these Facebook pictures, like, look, there was a road and now there's water and there's a canal. Which is half of the truth, because there was water in the 60s. Then they decided to put a road there, which was basically only like 2 kilometers long. It was a road from nowhere to nowhere. And by the 70s they figured out it was a bad idea, but it took them until the 90s to plan to take it out again. So that's why it's now back into being a canal. And I think I'm going to go to the right here to something called the Mariaplatz. And he's taking his nice Porsche into the city. I guess he feels this is a good way to do it, to see the city in your Porsche. So this is kind of the old entrance to the city in a way, Mariaplatz. So I'm trying to figure out in my head how to ride, because this turns out to be kind of a nice video maybe, that I will put online, which I didn't expect. I probably won't make it into a fully annotated video, but I just might put it up the way that it is. Now hopefully the video quality and the audio is not too bad. Again, this is kind of, you see the Dom again. So I'm not sure if I'm doing this in a smart way, because again, this is an area where these kind of days people are walking. I wouldn't say they don't care about bicycles, they just know that they now today own the road. This was probably a mistake, so I need to figure out. So you see these nice markings on the floor. That's actually the Dom Tower, so the tower that we're seeing, if they would lay it out flat. So it has been in repairs for quite a long time. So they put this painting here just to give you a feeling of how big it is. So I'm trying to figure out if I go to the left here, where do I hit the least amount of traffic? Probably here, would be my guess. But one thing should be clear to everybody, that this is not owned by bicycles at the moment. Kind of surprised nobody's yelling at me and saying, hey, get off your bike. It's busy, which is good for the video, I guess. Dun, 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 dun. So the plan in my head is only busy for another 50 meters. So if you see bikes with blue tires, they are a special brand or company, I guess. A big company, which also owns many bike brands, including Santa Cruz and Slivo and a lot of the Dutch brands. So we're going to the right here. We hope to avoid, so this is the canal, no way are we going to walk right there. So, but this way I'm going to get into a little bit of a rideable area again. So the blue bikes are basically rental bikes, you lease them. So if you see one with a blue tires, that's what it's about. I think I'm going here. Ooh, it's busy. You would almost think that people don't ride their bikes, if you look at this. So this is another big square, which is being rebuilt partly. So normally it will be full of tourists, and now they are sort of sitting on the side because the mill is now closed until they are finished with it. But it does get us to the point which I wanted to have, that we are going to ride over the busiest point, bicycle point again. So we are going to take a tiny bit of a weird route and go here, so that we line up with, and I'm going to slow down to a normal speed, and because we are heading into the busiest bike path in the world if it's summertime. So you only see buses and taxis, no other cars are allowed, and people walking and riding their bike. So we are now going to Vredenburg, which is the crossing we are talking about, but we are now from the other side. Normally this stop would be quite busy, so you can see it on the other side, that there the traffic light just went green, and you can see how many people are waiting. We are kind of in a weird position that there's only two bikes in this side, but it will get busier quite quickly. And some people, of course, will jump in. So there are already like 25 bikes behind me. That's green, and we are going to, can either go straight or we can cross the road. We are going to cross the road, which many people do. You see again the orange bicycles and fat bikes going for food deliveries. And again, you can see it's quite busy, and I can understand it on the camera. It looks like I'm a crazy person riding, but of course it always looks a little bit off on the bike camera. So here we're going to do something weird, because I'm going to the left, because I want to, if we turn this into a real video, I'm going to show you another attraction. So we are going a bit against the direction and go here, because we are going through another major bicycle attraction. I'm guessing sometimes people know that the camera is on them, or I don't know. So we are going on our way to the largest underground bicycle party. So this is all part of a massive shopping mall, which was part of why they destroyed the inner city. Again, we see on our left, we see where a road used to be, and the water is now back. And this is about the point where you see a lot of pictures. You see that church with the two towers sort of on lots of pictures. Like, look, there was a road and now there's water. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, true, but it's only part of the story. So we're going to the left here, sorry, to the right, and entering the biggest underground, or even above ground, I guess, bicycle parking. Now you see a lot of bicycles here. That means that the one bicycle parking is not enough. The inner city has about 40,000 bicycle strewn about, they think, parking places and stuff. So this one has storage for, I think in the beginning it was 12,500. I think it's now up to 16,000. So, and actually I use this quite a lot, but I never park there. But it's so big that you can actually use it to go from one side of the city to the other side, or one side of the building. It's a nice shortcut, so I'm going to slow down a bit. You can see there are several lanes where you can park, so you can go up and down. So to different platforms, and you see every row has two platforms by themselves. So in a way, if you count the whole building, there are like 8 layers of bicycles. So 2 per floor. And you can see that they're all full, right? So full. And here, if you have a problem with your bicycle, you can sort of go to the shop, which is closed now. I'm not sure, I just saw him closed up. So here you can see somebody coming from the upper floor. But as you notice, we didn't get off. We are just riding into one side of the building and riding out the other. And now we're on the other side, which is a handy shortcut. And you now have also seen and been through the busiest, the largest, probably also quite busy, bicycle parking. This is kind of an unexpected video, so I'm going to wonder what I'm going to do next. So maybe we'll just keep going. I'm going to check, we are now riding for about 45 minutes. So, I don't know. I think I will keep going and show you another attraction, in a way. Just still kind of fixing up this part. Let me think what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to show you one of the bicycle bridges, which is a nice attraction. So I'm planning it in my head how to go. So this is still quite a busy and confusing area, but they are redesigning it now. So slowly they are building and turning this also. I guess in a way it's a good example, because if you look there are a lot of cars. So you can see we've been to an area where at the moment the people walking are in control, but here clearly the cars are in control again. And in other areas the bicycles are in control. So you see all this sometimes bullshit about the 15-minute cities. The sort of conspiracy hype is a little bit over. They couldn't make any money of it anymore, I guess. Before I tell the story on our right, this is a road that we see quite a lot in the bicycle videos, especially if they're in the Netherlands. There are quite a few. But there's also a mill here called the Stair. And I suspected that they were going to break it a little bit, but it was quite busy. It's also a kids' petting zoo. So. And to give you any sort of feeling about distance, this is about 400 meters from the central station. So it's a nice, if you're Here it's a nice place. And if you're visiting, you can just walk up to a mill. You feel not like you're in the inner city. Again, you see the cars sort of moving about, but you also notice that the middle of the grey part is a lot smaller. It is cobblestone, so if you go over with your car, it doesn't feel very nice. So most of the time you see the grey area in the middle if you're on a cars are guests kind of road. But they changed the materials, so by changing it simply to this cobblestone, that means that this is not as fun to ride on your car, and you see also the speed bumps. So in that way they control the speed. You see these little ridges. And this is the Munt, which used to be the place where the Dutch guilders and the euros are made. And this is, I guess, also a little bit of a bicycle bridge now, because at some point it was too old and it couldn't take the car load anymore. So they now said, hey, only people and bicycles can go on it. But they left the bridge. It is busy. Well, the whole idea of this video changed. So hopefully my memory card doesn't run out. Battery should be okay. So what you also noticed, maybe, even if it's so busy, that nobody is sort of honking or using their bell. They will in Amsterdam, they won't in Utrecht, and even though there's quite a lot of people, we are a little bit nicer, I would argue. But there is a reason for it, is that people are really... one of the reasons why we like upright bicycles is we are really negotiating with our hands and with our eyes and making eye contact. So there's a lot of things that you don't see on the camera, like me using my hands. You see somebody in front of me using hand signals. Not everybody does it, but there's the very subtle sort of hints that you've learned when you're a kid. But especially tourists don't pick up. But if you've been riding here all your life, you see movement in the body that you kind of know where they are going and why. So if you watch videos in the Netherlands on the bicycles, try to see if you can pick up on them. You also see sometimes people with helmets on, not that many. Again, we are not anti-helmet, it's more like the infrastructure is so good that it, for many people it's not needed. But if you're getting a bit older or you are on a speed bike, then it makes sense. So in front of us, I will catch up to them. You can see two people probably on e-bikes, a little bit older, probably in their 60s, and they have helmets on. Nobody makes fun of them. It's just if you or you're a tourist, I guess if you're younger, you can get that name, and that happens. So in this case it might be, but or you're older on your e-bike, they're both on e-bikes. Again, you can see that on the back of the bikes. This is one place where I'm guessing they are not tourists because they know that you have to be on this side to go over the bridge. I'm not sure what I want to do. So we are now going over the Daphne Schippersbrug, which is a bicycle bridge which is, I guess, world famous by now. Because they didn't have any space to put a bridge, so they put a bridge and a school together. So you will see when we are moving up that we are slowly circling on top of a building, which is a school. And on the roof of the school is actually where the bike path is. And that's integrated with the bridge, which is a bicycle bridge. And yeah, of course, if you're not used to this kind of infrastructure, you see this quite a lot in the video. I am also using this, so this is kind of useful for my training videos, because the training software don't expect cars in this situation, especially if they are sort of leaning to the left or the right, because they are going through that curve. I'm going to speed up to get a little bit of better picture. And you can see on the left and on your right the canal. Again, since I didn't plan it, I will give stupid info. This is the busiest canal in the world, and I know this sounds like I'm sort of trying to hype up my country, because I didn't believe it myself. I expected it would be the Panama Canal or the Suez Canal or the one in Germany. I always forget that one. But this is one of the main ones. There's about 100,000, no, sorry, I think it was 50 or 90,000 ships a year, mostly going to Germany. So it's called using the Rhine. Well, I guess it's proof that they feel summer has started, because this is the ice cream shop. So we're walking from attraction to attraction. I'm near my home now, and one of the attractions that we are now sort of joining is that we are now riding on top of a 10-lane highway. So you see where the flowers are, and that field, that's why it's kind of open. There's a highway below it, so they buried the highway for a few kilometers to build this part of the city. So that road that you see there is actually not the main road. And again, here I'm careful. But it's below ground, and they did that so that the two city parts will be more connected. It cost about $1 billion to make, I think 1.2 billion. And but it enabled the city to grow. And in this part of the city, there will be about 100,000 people at some point. I think there are now 50 or 55,000. And in front of us, we see a small sort of pyramid-like building, slowly popping up. There's actually one of the control towers, which is keeping an eye on the tunnel below, if something happens. But it's called the A2, the A2. And it's actually a massive road, and maybe I should ride a tiny bit further. And I'm now at about an hour of riding, maybe a bit more. And it's been an interesting road, I guess. So they're still building, as you can see. But I think I'm going to show you the end of where the tunnel ends, and then we're about to finish this video. I'm happy that you joined me on this trip. Kind of unexpected, so if you're in the comments and if this indeed makes it to YouTube, let me know, because it's been a while since I made a video. I have no idea how the quality is and stuff like that, because I didn't plan it. But we will see. Because it turned out to be an interesting, lovely day outside. I should have known this, because it's one of the first Sundays where the weather is kind of nice. So I'm not sure if this is going to be the day. Maybe it was already past, I don't know. But traditionally, so the first day that is really like too cold, but everybody goes outside anyway. It's called Rokjesdag, so skirt day, because people go out for the first time and be pretty and go in for a beer at different locations. So Rokjesdag. I'm not sure, maybe this will be it. So we were already here before. We are still on top of the highway, which is to the left of us. And in the front of us we see the bus station. These are the white thingies. So we don't see many stop signs. I'm not sure what he is doing. Okay, he's going to drive like this, which is fine. He can only do that if he's parking, which is fine. I guess he decided to park. Because normally you are not allowed to drive here. Well, So, there you have the bus lanes. We are going to do that a tiny bit in... how do I show you this? I think I'm going this way anyways, but in the front of us, trying to see if I can get an aim of it. I know how to ride. I will show you the... So again, we are now riding on top of the highway. But I'm going to slowly maneuver myself in a way. I'm not sure why he's in the middle of the bike path. Parked his car, he's not inside even. That's interesting. Stuff is happening. It's an interesting day. I think I'm going here. They're still kind of building this because I wanted to show you. This is probably going to change, but we are now in front of the train station. We don't see any trains. But behind the train station is basically also where the cars come out again, out of the ground. I can't really show you in a way, but you have to trust me. I was hoping to figure out how to show you. But I will drive through this. So this we are now below the trains. Basically, kind of where I'm aiming at now. The cars come out underground and go into the normal highway again. So quite a few big software companies are located here. So people can go from the train or the bus and walk to work. Or they have a bike. So you see these blue, yellow bikes. They are bikes by the train company, which is you can rent them or they're part of your payment. And you can take one of them to go to work. I'm probably giving a lot of bad info, but that's what you get when you're just riding around. So it's difficult to see, but somewhere in front of me, the cars come from underground again. And well, I can see it because I look to my left, but you can see the cars already driving again. So this is kind of where they come above ground again. So in front of me, the big hospital. So if you get into an accident, there we go. And now I'm kind of wondering what I should do officially. I think I'm going to go here and then circle back. Maybe I should show you when I'm driving home part of the new city center to see how busy it's there. Oh, I just ran a red light. I didn't notice, but there's nobody there. But not supposed to do that, but I didn't see the light. So as far as I know, it was the only really illegal thing I did, kind of. Except I was not being polite, riding my bike in some areas where people were walking, although we did walk a little bit. So now I have one more decision to make. It's how far do I go into this shopping mall? Just to check out how busy it is, because if I continue to ride on this road, we will pass it. So I need to figure out if I somehow name a detour. I think I will, but I'm not sure what will happen. So I'll not ride this red light. I think I can go here. I keep extending this ride. Oh, it's already green. And then I should be able, you can see a parking space for the people visiting the city center. I think it's partly paid by the shops and you can there's several floors. But we are going to kind of go here and see how busy it is over here. Oh, it's definitely not as busy as the other city center. Again, this is also an area where some of the roads you're not supposed to ride. She's learning how to ride. Oh, that's clearly an instructor. I'm assuming at that age he has a driver's license. So you can see it's a bit busy. Yeah, there are people sort of doing their thing, but it's not overly busy. So let me see how I get out of this. Okay, what you can see, and depending on what's happening, this is also quite busy. Most of the side roads are kind of the same as the others. You can also see the signs. They are for walking only. Well, now we get out in the area that I kind of didn't want, but I guess we are going uphill again the way that we came. Let's take an not official shortcut, looking at the ground. So I even did a little bit of off-roading. The lights are not turned on. And now we are kind of back where we were a few minutes ago. And I know I've been promising this for a while, that this video is about to end, but we are really in the last, I would say, minute or two. Because we are slowly circling where I started this video, if I remember correctly, where I turned the camera on. So, part of the new city area, they're still building. This part weirdly is more busy in the week because there's lots of schools here. So there's lots of kids on school bicycles, parents getting their kids in bicycles. So we see that a lot. So it's Sunday, it's not overly busy again. The road next to us, kind of confusing, that's also red, is for buses only. And of course the schools are empty. So if you see kids about, they are doing their Sunday thing and not going to school. And we made it to the end of our trip, I think. Probably another 200 meters. And then I'm going to stop. Let me pass him. So let me quickly check. So we did 20 kilometers, 19 to be fair. And this is in lots of my videos, if I go from a home area, the beginning point and the end point. So this is the end point. Bye bye and see you in the next one. Let me a safety brake.